Hello class, this is Scott Caruso from MiU 1206 here to talk to you about my week 2 project. My good and my bad, my thing that went well and didn't go so well this week, are actually the same thing. So this was the first time this week that I tried to use jQuery. I know some of my classmates beat me to the punch and had been using it before, but I was learning it this week as we were going along for the first time and trying to apply it to my application. So that went both great and terribly. I'll explain how. On the great side, if you recall from last week, I talked a little bit about how I don't really fancy myself as a designer at all, particularly a graphical designer. I think I can design things that are usable, just not that look particularly good. And jQuery far and away does a better job of stylizing my application than I ever could dream of doing. So that's what went really well, I think, was just learning jQuery now that I have this tool in my back pocket. On the flip side, what didn't go so well was trying to learn jQuery this week. It took me so much time, probably took me twice as long as I would have expected. So that segues really nicely into what I want to talk about with how this applies to previous experiences. So I'm in the video game industry, have been for 10 years, so I'm no stranger to crunch time, and actually that's one of the reasons why I moved from EA to WB when I did in January, because I kind of had an assurance that the crunch time wouldn't be nearly as bad, and it hasn't been. However, this really felt like crunch time at work back at EA to me. I busted my butt. I've gotten 4 or 5 hours of sleep combined the past 2 nights trying to get the application done. I really felt like a real developer doing this app with the amount of work that I had to put in to get it done. Going forward, one thing I can take and how this applies to future life is I actually would have taken even longer had I not stopped to kind of sketch out, wireframe out on paper beforehand what the flow of my application, what the design should look like. So that really helped me a lot. I could focus on getting the jQuery down and then taking what was on my paper and moving it over to the application rather than trying to invent it all on the fly. The organization really helped me out there, and obviously that's something that I'm going to want to take going forward with me. All right, so that's how this week went. Let's go take a look at the application and talk about why it looks the way it does. All right, you see my gold app on the left and the bronze app on the right. I have opted in the gold app for thumbnail plus text and one window drill down, whereas on the bronze app I've opted, I'm showing you examples of list inlay, and I'll show you the grid in a second. Really the decision here came down to button presses. With the one window drill down, 2 button presses, and the user's into the menu that he wants to be into, the display cards menu. With list inlay, you get some nice flavor text here that you can add to give your app some character, which is cool, but it's 3 button presses to get where you want to get to. That user on the go, I want to get him into the information that he wants as quickly as I possibly can. So that's why I opted in my gold app to go with the one window drill down. As it relates to the thumbnail plus text and the grid, I think the grid works a lot better when you've got really unique, really cool looking images to go along with some distinct text. I don't have that. I have very basic images that kind of say, here's my black cards, here's my red cards, and very simple text, which I think looks cleaner and more efficient when it's in the thumbnail plus text. The grid, I think, would look great in my display cards page, if I can get that to work right, where it's actually showing images of each card if we ever get to that point. But for purposes of the application as it sits right now, that's what I decided to do. On the recent, if you go to browse by recent cards, it actually works like a news feed where it's taking the most recent card that you've added to the database first. I refactored my code so that it will display the most recent card first. I just give sequential IDs to everything as it gets added to the database. The next step obviously will be to style it. You'll see the nav bar here as well with the about links. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible, so just 2 links, and this one takes you to all the links you would need. A few things I want to work on going forward. My search, unfortunately, is case sensitive right now, so I will need to fix that. Warbler here will come up, but only if I select it, if I type it in with a capital. And also, as you can see here, this results page does not clear when I have new results, and I need to work on that, but there's the flying warbler there that I just searched for. So I need to fix that bug so this page clears properly when I'm done. That's my app for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week.